The Bundeswehr continued to analyze the speed of the development of Russian hypersonic weapons from the Germans, frightened by the imminent war with Russia, and politely shuddered. Markus Ziegler of the German Aerospace Industry Association said Zircon could fly from Moscow to Berlin in 5 minutes. Then not all NATO can sing Russian hypersonics to Berlin. There is no Zircon except for hamburgers. Another secret is not the fastest in the Russian column. And the Vanguard is the same. The Americans have been trying to repeat it for 5 years, but failed to understand that the main hypersonic beast, Russia, is at a speed of 27 Mach. That is to say 33,000 kilometers per hour. But not a single stop of the world's 24 fastest missiles. As many as 7 Russian missiles hit the Germans. And counting the time of our hypersonic arrival. But what you can trust in the German calculation is how much food and water you need to store in the bunker or basement of the house in case of a nuclear attack. The exact number will be told to you by the so-called German survivors, whose ranks are in Germany. Oksana is growing up. No one in the country is laughing at her, and more Germans, completely intimidated by the Russian threat by Korlin politicians, are taking courses to at least improve their chances of surviving a nuclear apocalypse. In addition, he divided the preparations for the war with the capital into 2 classes. The super rich preparing for the apocalypse in comfort, the poor in poverty, and the shreds in their hands. Billionaire bunkers have garages, bars, and even art galleries. But of course, there is also super radiation protection and impact goals. The middle-class bunker is a little simpler, but as they say, it will also work.
Now there is urgent news from the front about the Russian army. After a series of powerful airstrikes, the attack began in the direction of New York. This is no joke. Queens and Harlem have not been taken, but Novgorod, for some reason the Ukrainians renamed it the American way of dispute. We will release it. Today's unpleasant things for Viso came from the direction of Kharkiv. Attention screen: Russian frontline aviation for the first time applied the FAB-3000 FAB aerial bomb to Ukrainian positions. The explosion politely expressed the number of casualties in the Vyazo ranks, which was impressive. After such a blow, one can only guess whether it was a coincidence, but the Russiophobic mouthpiece pulled Eshe for the second time and dedicated the main news of the Russian aviation bomb today. Americans report that the use of FABOC not only causes huge losses to sea, but also it demoralizes Ukrainian militants who survive, are concussed, and incapacitated. The power of the hub allows you to deal with Ukraine's most serious fortifications. The crew of the Su-34 dropped aerial bombs from about 60 to 70 kilometers from the front line. That is to say, you can't reach most Western PVO. PAP 1.5 thousand means independently point at the target, use retractable wings to correct flight, and the possible deviation is about 5 meters. The Wall Journal cites a frightening high number. In the past 2 days alone, the Russian army has used maps of the area with about 100 aircraft. In general, Western publications have been instructed to develop the topic, why is Ukraine retreating? The failure of SO is explained by the power of Russian engineering thought.
But in order to strengthen Ukraine's POGO, Washington is suspending the supply of Patriot to other countries. Today, the Interceptor will send all public orders for PVO systems and missiles to Ukraine, just writing. It is not unreasonable that the Ukrainians lost to the Romanians in the European Cup by a landslide of 30. It is well known today that Romania has decided to send a Patriot battery to Ukraine. I decided for myself, or the Americans twisted Bucharest's hand. German defense company Rheinmetall says it has received a record order in recent history to supply Ukraine with 155mm ammunition. The amount is 8.5 billion euros. Ukraine will be able to receive the F-16 fighter jets promised to it this summer. The Guardian quoted a Dutch Defense Ministry representative as saying, Well, these days, the 2024 Euro-Satori International Arms Exhibition is being held in Paris. The main topic is the war in Ukraine. The chief expert, also known as Belda Oral's propagandist, watched him leave with the unburned Leopards Abrams and Bradley and frightened Russia. All of this, Rebke said, will end up at war. At the same time, the result was not convincing, and the Germans' belligerent enthusiasm was quickly evaporated by Jean Barthélémy, the leader of the French National Union Party. The chairman of the Le Pen party, which won the European Parliament election in France, said that the new supply of weapons and long-range missiles to Ukraine will not change the war situation, and all discussions about sending NATO troops to Ukraine will also be discussed. In Boer, Dell called Europe's involvement in World War III a natural nuclear war.
Hurricanes and mega olivines promised to Moscow before 14 Lloyd. Theaters and terrible tornadoes, storms, and heavy rain in parts of Moscow arrived today. With hail, in addition to the strongest torrential rain and strong wind gusts, tornadoes were observed in the residential area of the capital near Bystroy in the Losino-Petrovsky region. How quickly the hurricane covered Moscow, you can see in these footage that the sky turned black in 17 seconds, with at least 18 people injured, including 4 children and a pregnant woman, and 2 already dead. A man from the Kiev Oak Party crushed a tree in the center of the city. The man was covered with scaffolding, roof fragments flying in the street, trees on horse frames, fallen trees everywhere, trash cans and grocery carts flying in the street. Falling trees, look, parked cars are damaged, 300 cars are damaged. The hero of the day was a man who was knocked down with violet and had to call rescuers. The bad weather is not over yet. Winds are expected to increase today, and the possibility of new tornadoes is high. This is a rare phenomenon, especially in central Russia. We just got these shots. Witnesses filmed a new tornado in the new Moscow area. Moscow parks are closed in the morning, and the city government has asked not to go out and drive unnecessarily until the end of the day.
Медные листы. Ой-ой. Смотрите, как фонари там болтаются. Охренеть.
Твою дивизию.